I just wanna say when starting this video that we are living in a really weird timeline in my opinion, because I've seen a lot of people on like forums and especially on like the Discord server and whatever, like pointing their finger at me. No, I actually start. I mean, not going after me. That's not what's happening, but like bad mouthing me for like blaming me for like the escalation changes and like getting no running variator into the game and all that fucking nonsense, as if I had any agency in that as a Murkoff whistleblower ambassador, whatever the fuck. So yeah, originally I wanted to start this video with like some weird ass fake YouTube apology skit of like me being like, oh, I'm so sorry, like everything is true, and like lie my ass off and like addressing these allegations that people make against me, but I had to cringe so hard. So yeah, no, you're not getting that intro because honestly, I can't keep my composure when trying to make this shit. So yeah. That being said, though, I'm a bit nervous making this video simply because a lot of people like have a bit something against me now for like making escalation harder, even though the escalation being turned harder should be very fucking obvious if you look at the season 3 thing that has been happening ever since saving, where there are like 1,000+ peaks and whatever. Like, it should have been very fucking obvious that the devs see that and be like, maybe like if it's so easy to get this abnormous high peaks that were never intended, maybe we should make escalation a little bit more difficult. Which, should be very obvious, but as I see, that's like a foreign concept, and then they put the blame on me because like I made a video back in season 2 where I called out that the escalation changes back then were bad, because in season 1 escalation was like a lot harder, like way harder than it is right now in my opinion. I will get to that, but yeah. Then in season 2 they hardcore nerfed escalation and I pointed it out, and then people already got like upset with me for having an opinion. And then now that the timeline is different, we have now escalation saving the 1,000 save game, like from Saber. The Saber's save game with like his folks reached like 10,000 or some shit was going on. The devs decided to like buff escalation, and then people got mad at me all of a sudden. But yeah, a few thoughts on escalation. I think escalation is obviously way fucking better now and like actually more threatening. There are loophole scenarios that needs to be fixing, like in the early game. I think escalation right now has a bit of an issue where sometimes in the early game you can just get hardcore fucked by RNG. I think right now there's like an issue where, for example, I've read like a horror story about, like, let me phrase it that way. I've read a horror story of someone getting stay together, no running, health sickness at trial 9. They got that before the first main trial, and just frankly said shit like that should just not exist in like early game escalation. Like, there should be regulations for that. But yeah, it like has its issues. I will also say, as I mentioned at the very beginning, season 1 still has the edge in making escalation consistently harder than this version of escalation, because in season 1 escalation we had the old ultra where it had a billion different variators attached to it, and then a boss variator, be it countdown, stay together, or whatever, one of these each. Whereas now, like, Ultra 2 is very good in my opinion. I think Ultra 2 is completely fine as it is with what it provides. I originally had the thoughts, maybe it needs a little bit more of an edge, but no, I was completely wrong with that. What Ultra 2 support like provides is very fucking good base kit. but obviously it's not as strong as old Ultra. And then you have like the other variators, which right now you can get like some random ass weird shit. You can even get Don't Make Noise, which I don't know why that still exists in Escalation, but you can get that. Or you can get 4 boss variators stacked, which if you get the wrong boss variators, you are in for playing the hardest trials you've ever played in your fucking life. If you're, not god tier, whatever the fuck, which, is fucking insane. Like, I've dreamed of the times like these where Escalation is actually difficult in higher stages. But yeah, right now I feel it's a lot volatile compared to season 1 with what you can get. But I think that is fine in the end game. It is completely fine. Again, Escalation, the whole fucking point of Escalation is it should get more and more difficult. So having rough variators or variator combos at late stages of Escalation should be completely justified. Like, let's address the fucking elephant in the room. No running variator. I've heard so many people already complaining about this variator, which I expected. Again, like one thing that I've said on stream before sometimes, I kept it to myself, okay? There was like obviously like an ambassador event as always. Yeah, like you can ask any other ambassador like Bibzuda or Blueate or whoever who like obviously there was like an event showcasing the things. And one question I did ask during the event was like about like the trial maker, and then it showed a little bit of like the trial maker of their new variators, and I saw the no running variator in it. I kept it to myself and I never mentioned it on stream or whatever out of respect, but like I saw the variator, and back then I already knew, okay, once this is live, people are gonna like it's gonna cause a fucking war. Oh, someone wants to get into the building. Sorry about that. About random ass backnotes. I already knew it will start a war. There will be people who will enjoy it for the challenge it provides, and there will be people that will call it out for your bullshit. I will say it right now. I'm not saying, oh my god, you need to love the fucking variator. I've never fucking said that. Like, some people also get the impression that, no, you have to love a variator, whatever. Like, you can call it, lame or whatever. But I've seen people argue that shit like that should not exist in Escalation. I will say that no running is. I mean, first and foremost, it's a lot more fair than the original version because no running, funnily enough, was in the game files and like rumored and whatever since early access. And before I even made my channel, which then is so funny when people try to spin it that, I invented the variator, and because I'm now in the program, I went like to the Red Barrel's office and like put a gun to like their head and be like, yeah, fucking add this variator to the game. Like, I find that narrative so fucking dumb, but it's also really funny. But yeah, in the original version, the adrenaline counterplay wasn't even in. So if it still was like the original version, then I would unironically agree with you. I'm just putting it right fucking there. Yes, I am doing a shitload of no stamina challenge, no running challenges and whatnot. That does not mean I want the game to be like that. I think people get the wrong fucking version. All I want is the game at hardest difficulties to be challenging. And for that, you need hard variators. That's why I was very sad when they first put out Stay Together out of Escalation. That's why I was very sad when they nerfed Season 2 Escalation. And that's why I'm right now very sad when people complain about no running variator and it will inevitably get nerfed. Because people are just complaining about it for, oh, it's so boring and whatnot. Even though, it's very subjective. So yeah, this version of no running, I will say, this version of no running is a lot fucking better because it provides a lot more options. Obviously, you can, if you have the prescriptions, literally just run, take the damage, and then regen with your prescription. But also, makes the gameplay a lot more in-depth. You are encouraged to hold adrenaline syringes, which in my opinion, unless you have specific trials with like heavy objects, you never do. You just straight up never do. So you try to farm adrenaline syringes, and you try to farm them, and then if you're detected by an enemy, use them in emergencies. But other than that, stealth. Also, it encourages you to use up other things in your loadout, like hide and breathe, which is like on a 1 minute cooldown, which all of a sudden has a lot more different value all of a sudden. Same goes with mine, which mine is already pretty good. Some people still say it's trash, but it was already pretty good. And now it has a hidden utility, which is pretty cool. And in general, the no running variator, all it does, realistically speaking, adds a new layer of gameplay, which encourages stealth. And people still don't understand this, but Outlast Trials, in its core, as much as you want to twist it, is a stealth-based game. Yeah, there's like a huge speedrun community around it, but in its core, Outlast Trials is a stealth game where you have an optional running option, but as it is designed, in general, with enemy AI and whatnot, it's a stealth game. And the no running discourse is just the same thing as when they added Franco, which Franco is also a mechanic that is purely meant to be, stealth based. So, like his gun 1v1 is unfair more or less on purpose to get you to like, stealth more. And people don't like that, but that's just the reality of it, and the no running is the exact same thing. And yeah, I don't know what else to tell you. I'm not saying you have to like it. All I'm saying it deserves to be in fucking Escalation and in the fucking game. Because yes, it's a fucking challenging variator, but it has a lot more depth than people give it credit for. And to address a point, I'm sorry this video is gonna get rambly, by the way. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. But like, to address the point that I made at the fucking beginning about the early game being very volatile, here's the one thing I would definitely change about Escalation. Make it so stay together and no running. I don't think why that took so long to think about. Like both of these variators, let's call them god variators. Like I always called variators that are like event like bomb countdown, health, sickness, and all these variators, I always call them boss variators, right? Let's call stay together and no running god variators, because even though stay together got nerfed a lot, these are still a very insane variators, right? Make it so both of these variators only start spawning late game in Escalation. Period. We are talking either with Ultra 2 at like 21 or even later at 31. And the main reason for that is that would eliminate like the early game threats of these two variators, which are really, really strong. But also at that point in the end game, the game should throw everything at you. Again, I'm gonna say it again. The whole fucking point of Escalation, which still in my opinion, Escalation is probably the end game content of like the Outlast Trials, if you put it down, unless you like want to farm relapses or reborns. That's like the alternative end game. But like in terms of like pure gameplay, trying to go as far as possible in Escalation is the end game of Outlast Trials. And for that end game, Escalation should throw everything at you the further away you go. And I know some people will now point out, well, 31 isn't that high. It is. It is. I think so many people got screwed off their perception on what a high Escalation run is because of the fucking saving. Because then people got like into the thousands. Thousands shouldn't be a fucking realistic standard on what a high Escalation run is. Like that's godlikehood of like high whatever. Even 100 should be like the top of like, oh my god, you're fucking amazing kind of thing. Which, the value got diminished from like the nerfed season 2 Escalation. But, now that's a little bit back. It's a little bit more valuable. Either way though, Either way, I want to close off this video by obviously encouraging you to discussing it in the comments. If you can convince me that no running is bad, by the way, please try in the comments. I will listen to arguments. I'm just not seeing any good arguments online. That's all I'm saying. That being said though, one thing I want to close off this video is like with another suggestion that I've already suggested on stream before a bunch of times, and I've also seen other people suggest it. So it's not just a me exclusive opinion. I've also seen this on the forums before to like finally fix escalation, because let's be real, what could happen here, okay? We had season 1 escalation, which was amazing with the old ultra and whatnot, actually high difficulty and like higher levels, but then they realized, okay, it's too hard for like the average person, so they nerfed it in season 2, made me and other hardcore escalation veterans pretty sad, but you know, the casual players enjoyed it more. Then they added saving, and now with season 4 changes, the average player obviously got a lot more mad, whereas us are happy again. Now what could happen again is the reverse, that they're nerfing escalation again, and it's gonna be a back and forth. So let me suggest one final thing, okay, to like fix it. Obviously you will always have the base kit escalation, which they can tweak a little bit, but I think it's like fine-ish. Like, so around what we have right now, maybe with like some tweaks similar to what I suggested, or like other suggestions in like from other people, but add custom escalation. Now what is custom escalation? Basically custom escalation is before you start a run, you can blacklist any trial you want. So let's say you do not like Franco, you can literally blacklist all of his maps out of the rotation, so they will never appear in the escalation rotation. You can also like customize your loadout selection. So for example, if you want to do a permadeath run, you can like blacklist self-revive and pacemaker upgrade for Jammer, for example, and you can also go ahead and blacklist any variator that you want to. So like a hardcore player like myself who doesn't like Don't Make Noise can just blacklist that in their runs. A more casual player who cannot stand Stay Together and No Running can blacklist these, so they will never appear in the run. And also you can customize that even further by deciding what the stages are. So for example, that you could go ahead, because I've seen people like suggesting it a lot, that they wish there was a different mode where you would immediately go into ultra, so they could immediately make it so starting at 1 you start with ultra immediately. Like you can have that as a setting, or you know, on the casual end you can remove ultra altogether, and then you can enjoy the version of escalation that you want to enjoy. I think that would be a lot of work, so that kind of suggestion would probably take a while to implement if they want to go for something like that. But ultimately, I think that would be the best solution for escalation period, because honestly, I will probably get sick of like making this type of escalation discussion video in the future, simply because, you know, I can already see escalation being nerfed again, then buffed again, then nerfed again, and it will always have like a stupid ass discourse around it. It will always have. So yeah, again, as a bit of a TLDR, I think the new escalation changes are great. I think they are a lot more volatile than, you know, the other ones. Like we did the 100 attempt with like Sus, Crap, and Jarvi. I did that like over the weekend, and I'm not gonna lie, we got like the bad end of the stick. Like we didn't have that many trials that were like hardcore, but if I were to do another one, then it could turn out hardcore. So it's a lot more RNG dependent, but to be fair, that's also the spirit of escalation. So unless you want to add like some new base kit to like ultra, then you know, whatever. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. No running, in my opinion, very justified. It just should only appear at like high stages alone, for the reason because if it only appears at higher stages when escalation is supposed to be at its hardest, then people have less of an incline to actually complain. because, you know, at that point the game should like the game is supposed to throw everything at you and try to like test your skill at like the highest level. And, you know, if you fail, you need to get a little bit better at the game, and so on and so forth. And you know, learn from your mistake. Which, by the way, that is like a thing that I noticed. I think I wanna do a video on that as well at some point. I feel in the Outlast Trials community there's a lot of discourse going on around people not being able to acknowledge when they're doing mistakes, which sometimes I struggle to in challenge rounds. I will also like blame the game for like this and that, but then in retrospective I'm like, oh yeah, that was because of me, I should have done this and that. And I feel that's a lot in like the Trials community. Best example for that is probably environment hazard like cold snap, toxic shock, and like limited hiding spots combo, which the counterplay is easily just remember where hiding spots are, but then people don't do that because they, you know, there's also this impression in the Outlast Trials community that, you know, this game doesn't have a skill curve, which it does. Obviously it's not as deep as in other games, but it definitely has a skill curve. So yeah, there's obviously that going on. But yeah, other than that, Escalation chain is fine. I can't wait to get crucified in the comments, by the way. I'm a bit nervous throwing this video out there because like right now a lot of people are just again not going after me but like bad mouthing me and be like, oh my god, he's ruining the game, blah 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 blah, which, you know, a lot of the shit that I said back then is just common sense in my opinion, but you know, what can I say? But yeah, thank you so much for watching though. Please make sure to leave your thoughts in the comments. I would love to like have a discussion or, you know, get a new perspective maybe, because maybe I'm, you know, a bit short-sighted, even though I feel I make my arguments well pointed out, but maybe I'm short-sighted in some aspects, so please let me know. Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more Outlast Trials content in the near future. And other than that, have a great rest of the day and take care, everyone. Bye bye.